Just remember, drinks in show and clothes optional show. Welcome to episode 41, Court Cousins. I am the Peach. I am joined by my co-host, my cousin, the Kyle. He wants more stink on it. That's fine. Stink it up. But we're going to make a great smelling show today for you. We have got the Chuma Are You Okay check-in as always to start off, figure out how we're doing. We've got a succulent social media roundup for you. It's moist and ready. We've got a new segment called 5 with the Fam, where we have one of our Patreons join us.
Shout out, Dylan.
A short chat. It's pretty fun. And then we've got our pre-March Madness draft rankings, even though we are completed the first round. We'll talk a little tournament today. I'm going to call out Mr. Penny Hardaway for some of his coaching later. Stick around for that. Also, the Court Cousins Championship is about halfway through. We'll give you a little update on where we stand right there. And as always, at the end, as he always reminds you, stick around. The large ending. It's wacky, it's wild, and it ends the whole show. So, my friend, my cousin.
That's me.
How are you doing for the Chuma Are You Okay check-in? And how was it miming for the entire beginning of the show?
Did you like my miming?
Hey, I wasn't really watching because I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I think that probably happens to you too, and then you get to see it later when you edit.
Now
so
you know what it's like.
Yeah.
I am this Chuma here. I just Googled Chuma with sunglasses because it was St. Patty's Day yesterday. We're filming this on Saturday, the 18th. That's the day after St. Patty's Day. Just checking. Because we did what one Irishman you might think we might do on St. Patty's Day. I went out to a couple joints before heading to a comedy club, and we had a good time. So I'm feeling I need the shades. I'm a little slow at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah. I have like a wee bit of kind of anxiety on my heart a little bit. I feel like I'm creating a power struggle with my lady in my mind, and I'm happy that I'm able to recognize it because I can intervene and make sure that it doesn't become anything. But I feel like a little distant from her, and I want a little bit more quality time. So that's kind of where I'm at.
All right, you guys are going to New Orleans soon.
That's coming up. That's not for a few weeks though.
All right.
But yeah, how are you doing, Peach, for the Chuma Are You Okay check-in? I feel like I haven't talked to you in a few days.
Well, I've got this Chuma here that is not smoking some of the devil's lettuce. That's fog in the background there. But you can see he's fallen during the tournament. This is from when he got hurt in that game against North Carolina when he played for Auburn. I'm not injured, but I'm kind of in a spot where I think he was on this day where it's like, what's next for me? You know, like where do I go from here? You're upset that like his current trajectory hasn't quite gone maybe the way he thought it would, but much like this foggy road, you know, if you wait it out, that fog's going to lift and then you'll be on the other side. And Chuma's career ended up, you know, taking a positive turn, getting drafted. Still took him a while to work his way up to where he wanted to be, and maybe he's not as good as he, you know, wants to be, or people thought he could be. But the point was that he was down. He waited out that fog. He worked hard. And sometimes it's hard when you talk about time. People think, oh, you know, a year is not that long or whatever, and this and that and the other thing. But depending on what's going on in your life, sometimes even a month can feel like a long time. And that's not necessarily the case always for me, but a lot of my stuff's been in a storage unit for a year now, which is starting to feel like a long time. I'm wondering what's in there. I kind of forgot. Like, do I need it? Do I miss it? Yes. And also just trying to figure out what's next for me as a job. And like, when is this fog going to clear? And I'm like in a little in-between spot where I'm like, I'm paid well, but I hate this. So do I continue to sell out to just do something I dislike? Or
it's tough, man.
I'm kind of, you know, just in between. It's a foggy time.
Yeah.
But I know that fog will lift. So I'm just kind of like, you know, canceling my flight and being like, we'll just go tomorrow or whatever.
I hope you get some clarity at some point soon. Do whatever you need to do that gives you some clarity. Peach, when I open the show, I always give you a moment to do a shout out.
Okay.
And you didn't give me my moment to shine.
All right. Would you like to
I'm
take
waiting.
Would you like to take it now?
Yeah. Could I? May I?
Okay. Well, let's reintroduce you. My co-host, my cousin, the Kyle.
No. Well, no, Peach. I do the shout out after the Patreons.
Oh, right. Then.
So now, are you going to shout them out,
I
Peach?
skipped a slide. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. All right.
I think I know how to pronounce all these names. Shout out to our all-stars and second cousins on Patreon, Magic Player History, Wiffle, Andy, Dylan Holden, Drum, Rafael Perez, Breadhead, Al, Matthew Bell, Dan Young, Yachty, Gloria and Damien, Connor, and you put Yachty in again.
I love you, Yachty.
So I read it because
He'll read anything you put on the monitor, ladies and gentlemen. You know,
I'm the Pish.
A notable absent there is your pops, my uncle.
Ah, okay.
Bernie Pichet, no longer on the list.
All right.
I noticed that Patreon's telling us he has a card issue.
Right.
And he probably recently got a new card, right?
Probably.
Something.
Yep.
And just didn't change things. I wonder what else, too. Like, what other small, minute...
You've seen the amount of mail he gets. It takes a while to get
that's
through
what I'm
all
saying.
that. So that could just be in a stack he hasn't got to yet.
The charities are all in a bonkers right now at headquarters. They're trying to figure out, Bernie Pichet, what's happened with the card?
Yeah, weird side note. My dad gets way too much mail. I have no idea how this
Because he's got a big heart. He always gives to charities and people that are out there.
And he's never moved. He's been there for a long
That's
time.
the problem
If you
too, yeah.
move, eventually mail stops finding you. But anyway, our community is growing, becoming something really cool.
Yes.
I know you're loving it.
Wow, look at the coffee he's already.
Yeah. We got a tight group of Magic fans, second cousins.
Yes.
All of this family needs to head on over to the Patreon. Check it out. We're $15 away from our $200 a month goal.
Hell yes.
Then at 300, we're going to be doing a fun campaign where we have a bunch of exclusive content. I'm not sure what that is. I'm just reading copy, but this guy knows, and I'm sure it's going to be good because everything he's done so far for the show has been great. So,
Oh, thanks, Peach.
yeah, that's called blind faith in the actual family.
What's next, Peach? Oh, what's next?
So what's next? What happens now is that things start to get wet in a good way.
Yeah.
Because it's time for the Succulent social media roundup.
I wish I had some like sexy music here on one of these drop pads to play.
Coming soon.
Yeah, maybe I'll
feel like that's coming soon.
post edit right there.
Yeah.
All
right.
Ooh, Succulent.
See, it always goes that way on the show.
Social media roundup, Succulent. All right.
Yeah. All right. Just remember, drinks in show and clothes optional show. But clothes are staying on today, I think.
Okay. Yeah. This is serious business.
We're going to just start off with the way these are laid out here.
Okay.
Let's give some props to Jalen Suggs right now. Take a look at this graphic here from Orlando Muse or Oral Muse. And it's saying that Jalen Suggs is now the third guard I got to blow this up because I can't read it. So pardon me.
Not so easy, is it, Peach?
He's now the third guard ever to record 15 plus points, 3 plus rebounds, 3 plus assists, 3 plus steals, 3 plus blocks, 3 plus threes, and go 50% or better for field goals. That is like all the stats. Those are all the stats that matter, to be honest.
That's true.
There's none of those little made up stats in there. That's all legit stats put together in under 30 minutes, by the way. That's a rare stat to figure out that all those things had to happen in under 30 minutes. But he's only the third guard ever to record that? That's ludicrous.
I don't know where these types of stats are held. Like where, like
I don't know either. Yeah.
Where how do you find this even? It's kind of fun because it's one of those ridiculous, absurd. It almost feels like a parlay bet. There's just so many legs to it.
Yes.
Where, you can make any player look like something if you throw enough things that they're good into the pie. But
I don't think you can throw the time played in there though.
No, well, that's
not for a good parlay.
And to be fair, if you're trying to assemble little bits and pieces of the player that they're skills that they're good at, it's crazy that Jalen has so many different legs of this parlay that you can build. He's scoring the ball, he's rebounding, assisting. On defense, he's stealing and blocking. And in this instance, he was shooting really well from beyond the arc. But I think this is this is symbolic of kind of an overall trend we've been seeing with Jalen Suggs. This is not, this is meeting the eye test as well. He's looking like he's been playing much more under control. I just pulled up his stats for the last 10 games on Basketball Reference, trying to, get that Connecticut, just turn that. 10 points a game, but on 26 minutes. He's shooting just under 33% from beyond the arc, a steal and a half a block, 2 boards, and let's see, where are my assist numbers? 2.5. So it doesn't jump off the page,
right?
But the way that he's impacting the game is, I'm having a tough time putting it into words, and I'm not sure if it's just because his play is so elusive, or it was the devil's lettuce from earlier. I haven't figured that part out.
I think teams are more wary of throwing passes in his direction than they would have been last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you hesitant to throw even a basic pass. So that's good. That helps affect things. It's sort of like when a big man is blocking shots.
True.
You don't want to go into the paint. Right. So I think teams are maybe trying to avoid passing it where he's at, because you can tell when he's guarding his man, he's looking in his peripheral vision at other things to see, can I steal this ball right now? And he's good at getting his hands on a lot of things. So like,
you see that football player instinct in there.
Right. People they don't want to be on the end of that interception, right? Because that's embarrassing to them. So that's a part of the game that is hard to put a stat on. It's hard to put a label specifically on, but that's how good players affect games, is sometimes just their presence alone means, okay, if the guy I'm guarding to isn't going to get passed to because they're afraid to pass it over here, then now it's 4-on-4, or, it's all the other guys. So that helps.
Odd man break. And we can be dangerous when we get in the break. We got some supreme athletes on the team.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Jalen Suggs later with our 5 with a fam question. So about how we can maybe expand on these numbers for Jalen Suggs.
Nice tease, Peach.
Oh, I've teased before.
Ladies.
Hey, next up, we've got a little Duke basketball, which hurts my heart, but there they were thanking the Orlando Magic for using the incredible facility. And then after their first round win against Oral Roberts, they decided to put this video up with the Orlando Magic theme song playing. Paulo and Wendell Carter just cutting a rug. I mean, so much rug was cut that it's amazing. I didn't know this footage existed.
It's down to bare tile.
It's down to bare tile or wood, whatever they started with. And they asked the Magic, is this how this is done? It was like, all right.
2 thumbs up.
Well done. Yeah. Bravo. Tournament underway. We're going to talk a little bit about Penny later when his slide comes up. We maybe should have put them together, but
nah.
I
I got a bogus tip from reading one of those, overviews of March Madness, because I'm not plugged into college basketball until right now, but I'm loving watching the games. But I read a little tip to say that, hey, Oral Roberts, they got some upperclassmen on the team, and, the line may be a little bit favoring Duke because Duke's like the Cowboys or the Yankees. People just bet on them, so those lines move a little bit. It looks like good money. It wasn't. It was not. Thankfully, it was a free bet. But
right.
I like this little. I know it's hard for you, Peach, and I'm here for you if you need me. All right, man. Shoulder to cry on. But I'm kind of liking the little partnership almost between Duke and the Orlando Magic. Cover his horns. Cover Ramsey's horns, please. I don't want him hearing me. I'm sorry, Ramsey. I'm sorry, Cole. But, Duke has a huge fan base. North Carolina is not too far away. And the Charlotte Hornets suck. So, let's get some of that rub. Get some more fan base in here. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. The water's warm. Come on in, Duke fans. You're welcome.
I mean, I guess the blue is similar, so
all right,
it's easy. And the sound of our team names doesn't sound like pooping, so that's nice.
I knew you weren't just gonna let it go. You were too positive there for a moment.
They're Blue Devils. It's not even a thing. It's not even a thing. It's a made up thing. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to some positive. Donington has posted here. Magic player rankings and the new Ringer top 125 NBA player rankings, current players.
Yep.
You got Paolo Banchero checking in at number 67, labeled as a highly skilled shot creator. Franz Wagner coming in at number 72 as a superb defender. Wendell Carter Jr. is number 83 at a versatile enforcer.
Oh, nice.
Interesting. Okay.
Nice, Wendell.
It sounds a little bit like a Street Fighter claim, but that's cool. And then Markelle Fultz at number 125, just making the list as a creative ball handler. 4 guys in the top 125, Kyle. What say you?
I mean, I feel good about that. To be honest, I don't watch a lot of basketball outside our Orlando Magic. Once in a while, I'll catch another game, but when I see our guys compete against other squads, it feels good. I'm wondering how I feel about Markelle being so low on this list, how you feel about that, knowing how much of a driver of the team he is, and Paulo being number 1 there, Franz, on our team, I'm saying, in terms of how highly they're ranked.
Yeah.
Do you think this order sits right with you, with how you feel about our guys on the team?
It makes sense with the narrative that's played out.
Yeah.
With amongst people are still getting to re-know Markelle Fultz.
Yes.
I've seen some slander and disrespect. One post where somebody was like asking people to name players that Bronny James could beat in the NBA right now.
Oh,
somebody actually said Markelle Fultz, and I'm like, excuse me? Like, I rarely get involved in those kind of things, but I had to go in and say something
in the comments
because this is just wrong. I mean, it's just wrong.
Erroneous.
It's from somebody who's not really watching the play and is remembering the Fultz who had this weird injury and that weird shot, and that's the Fultz they're remembering.
Yeah.
And because the Magic aren't on national TV, unless your team's playing them that day, no one sees him and no one knows him. Like, and I could tell when I was watching the Phoenix Suns game, I was actually watching the Suns broadcast because I was watching it on NBA TV, the channel.
Oh.
And I was amazed. They were really hyping up Fultz. They were speaking very highly of him. And it was almost like it was new to them. So I'm like, this is part of what changes the narrative. Games like this, the word gets out. Honestly, him being at 125, I'm just happy he's in that 125. And being at the last spot, he sticks out a little bit more where it's like, oh, this guy's back. He's on the move. He has room to grow up this list. If I was making this list, would he be 4th? Nope. But I get why he's on this list right here of the Ringers top 125 NBA players, because
would you move him ahead of Franz?
I wouldn't move him ahead of Franz, but they'd be close.
Okay.
I'd definitely move him ahead of Wendell.
Yeah. Okay. That's similar to how I'm feeling.
Okay.
Can we jump into this one next, Peach? Because it's more Markelle Fultz talk on slide 6 here, the lead.
Yep.
This is just portraying what we've been seeing, as you were just talking about, Peach. This is a post from the lead. Markelle Fultz's scoring by month. December, coming back 11.5 points per game on 50% true shooting. January, 12.9 points per game, about 13 on 58% true shooting. February, 16.2 points per game on 58.3% true shooting. And most recently this month, halfway over March, 17 points per game on 60.4% true shooting. He's 3rd among all point guards in field goal percentage this season. Fox and SGA are number 1 and 2. Woo!
Okay, and Fox has had a breakout season where he's a star. SGA, star.
Yep.
Markelle Fultz, start putting respect on his name.
Let's go.
But this is the, everyone who started the beginning of the year, Fultz wasn't even playing. He's still injury prone guy. And then December. And now it's just, you can see this is the rise of Markelle Fultz to getting that respect and stuff. And I don't know. I don't want to speak for Markelle, but I don't think he gives a shit what people think of him.
Nope.
He's just going to go out there and ball and play his game. And at some point, you'll all get on board because you'll see it. And I think that's the way he feels. Magic fans know, because we've been watching him. We know how different our team is without him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
We want the team with him.
Yes.
So other people will start to see that as our record improves, as we keep, next year, I got to imagine we're going to be getting a few nationally televised games once in a while. Mm-hmm. And the word will get out that Markelle Fultz is on the rise and should be higher on people's lists. But for now, let him keep sleeping.
I mean, he just keeps getting better. His effective field goal percentage has climbed pretty much every single year since being in the league. Right now, he's at 53%. That's like a couple spots ahead of guys like OG Anunoby and Jimmy Butler. He's top 5% in his assist percentage. He's assisting on just under 30% of everyone's made shots when he, on the team. So, that's ahead of guys like Jalen Brunson, De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving. These are guards that people
imagine
love
if our
to
team
just
could actually
talk
make
about.
more shots.
Right.
It could be even higher.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Markelle, we can't say enough good things about the guy. And the demeanor point that you bring up is one that I think is probably overlooked in the narrative and what I respect so much about him. This man has been to the dark bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has experienced some traumatic stuff in terms of rising, being the number one pick, dealing with this ailment that was just misdiagnosed, and no one could tell him what it was, and him just struggling. And I mean, can you imagine that mental hell that you probably are in that type of situation?
He was on that foggy road in the dark.
Oh my
for
gosh.
a long time.
A long time, man. That's rock bottom. And now you see him in Orlando thriving. His mom's nearby. He's got his daughter. Like, he's a family guy. He's always doing stuff for the community. He's got the right head on his shoulders. And so when I see that he's been improving year after year after year, that mindset mixed with those numbers is just going to keep getting better.
Right.
Like, I have no doubt that Markelle Fultz will continue to work. And
to be honest, the numbers
better.
we've already seen in March are fantastic.
Yeah.
And even if that stayed the same, at some point people are going to notice the difference he's making.
And we don't want too much more scoring out of Markelle. I mean, I would like it, but it's just not feasibly possible. Also, when we guys got like Paulo and Franz and someone else new, right, this offseason, Wendell, there's a lot of mouths to feed right now.
We'll get to that, and we'll get to the other mouths that might be fed soon.
All right.
Reverend 352 asked a question that I asked recently on our visit to Orlando.
Yes.
The fact that I have been through almost 2 full seasons at Amway and haven't seen a Wendell Carter Jr. available for purchase is really starting to bother me. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on to say, this dude is a core piece of our team. They got Suggs, Ross, Bamba, Anthony, both Wagner's, Banchero, even saw Houston jerseys at one point, which also is amazing.
Peach, can I set the stage for you, please?
Set it.
Peach has something to tell you, Orlando Magic store outlets.
Yeah. Hey, man. We talked about when we went down, we set the over-under for jerseys purchased at, you took the over. I think I said it at
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
And you took the over, and we came in under.
Yeah.
Largely in part because I didn't see any Wendell Carter jerseys for sale anywhere. That guy that starts for us. Meanwhile, you've got 2 guys that come off the bench in Suggs and Cole, who I love, by the way.
We love them.
And I bought a Suggs jersey.
We love them.
I enjoy nutmeg and cinnamon.
So, but where are the starters at? Like, let's put their jerseys out there. I get that Paulo's new in town. You want to push his stuff. I get that Franz is out there, and I understand that. And I understand there's only so much room on the shelves.
On a rack, yeah.
On the racks for things. But let's go ahead and make way for Wendell Carter. He should be boxing his way
Our
out.
enforcer.
In there, yeah. I heard he's an enforcer somewhere, but he's clearly not an enforcer in the marketing department. His agent needs to get on this shit. There should be goggles for sale at Amway for crying out loud, and yet there are not.
Now you're thinking.
Another missed
Peach.
opportunity to do some cross branding with Lens Crafters. Let's get it going. Give Wendell some goddamn love out of your pocket with merch. Like, where's the Wendell merch? Is it only the Wendaddy shirts from the 6-Man show?
Hey,
that's all I've seen.
Yep.
I don't even see the player T-shirt jerseys of Wendell. Let's get some Wendell stuff. Let's go.
I'm not even gonna touch you. I can't say anything on that.
He's from Duke, but I want his stuff. All right, let's go. Let's get it going. It's on you.
It's a big missed opportunity.
All right, let's talk a little positivity about the Magic because we've hit a spot here where we have not won some games lately, and it seems like the play-in dreams are dashed.
Yeah, they're gone. They're in the rear view, Peach.
But Lewis, known as Hoops Talk 13 on Twitter, lets us know that the Magic are going to improve their record by double-digit games this season, while being again the most injured team in the league, 237 games missed as of today when he wrote it, and adding 2 more top 8 through 10 picks in the draft, which we'll talk about in a bit. We've had some shit losses, but this season is an A+ success so far. Lewis, he gets it. What are your thoughts?
Lewis will have very rational takes very often. I agree with his takes quite a bit most times.
He doesn't take, he gives.
I mean, but are we counting chickens? I don't mean to be the pessimistic Magic fan, but he says we're going to improve our record by double-digit wins. We have not done that yet.
Okay.
We have 28 wins right now.
Yeah.
We had 22 last year. I know it seems crazy. I don't know exactly how many we have left. I'm not up on it, but we need 4 more. So we haven't gotten very many in the last 5 or 6. So
12 games left as of
Okay.
recording today, but there's a game this afternoon.
Yeah, that would be, so you're right. Okay, Lewis is right. We'll probably get double
There's
digits.
a true role reversal today with me hosting and you being the pessimist.
But I do love where our team is. I'm a little disappointed that we're not making a harder push at the play-in.
Right.
I don't really think that is a possibility at this point. But on the bright side, there's a lot to look forward to. I am excited to have the NCAA conversation with you with the hoops on. It is getting me enthusiastic about looking forward and thinking about what this team can continue to be. We've got cap flexibility. We've got really good players on young and low deal contracts, rookie contracts right now. So we're in a great spot to build the squad. So
there's a lot of other
I'm extremely
franchises that would love to be where we're at.
For sure.
And have the roster we have and the picks we have and the cap we have. So like look at all that stuff and enjoy it and realize that we still improved during this rebuilding phase where we could have had another stinker year, but actually showed some improvement on the way.
Yeah.
Not going to mention the growth flower, but Lewis, I think, probably gets it.
He loves the
that
growth
this
flower.
is a process.
Yeah.
And that we don't have our petals out right now and bees flying into us to get pollen. We're not that far, but we're heading there.
We're heading there. I think that the sad Magic fan will just say, yeah, but that shit doesn't translate to wins. And
wins don't mean dick this year.
Yeah.
To be honest, right? At this point, if we're not going to make the play-in, then your win total doesn't really mean anything. Because if you're not going to go, and let's be honest, if we made the play-in, do we have a shot at winning the NBA championship?
No.
So we're going to get the playoff experience eventually.
Fair, but
there's no need to push for it this year.
I sympathize with Magic fans out there because it's been a while, man. We've had like one little sugar high.
You guys were in the playoffs in the bubble. That was 2020. It was not that long ago. Other teams have waited longer.
Yeah, but it's still been tough.
This time, this next time when you make it, we actually have a chance of winning a round.
Yes.
Whereas like back then you didn't. Right. So
no, you're making all these rational points, but I'm just telling you what my heart is saying, okay? Sometimes.
I love to make rational points. I also usually like to make rational bets, my friend. That's why recently, at the behest of people who were chastising me for not wanting FVV to be a part of the Orlando Magic.
FVV? Oh, who's that?
Fred VanVleet. We got to get him. Oh, we need all these Raptors that aren't named Pascal. Please come join the Orlando Magic, all you mid-level players. Oh, yeah. Fred VanVleet was an all-star once, okay? He had one really great season, and he's a decent player. Decent enough that I thought he'd get 15 points in a game.
You had confidence.
I threw him into this parlay. Could have won $76, but Fred VanVleet, the only man to let me down and not get 15 points. And this exactly is why, Malik, I'm talking to you now. Fred VanVleet, I don't want you on the Orlando Magic. He's never done anything good for me. He's always been negative. He's on a rival team. I don't like his game. He's peaked. He's not going to get any better.
That's true.
Sure, he's a veteran, and he does have some things he could bring to the game. But unless you get him cheap or for next to nothing, I don't want him on this roster.
That ain't happening. He wants a bag.
Yep.
I
wanted this mini bag, but I couldn't get it.
Yeah,
you see.
$76, dude, for $3. That's a great bet. And Austin Reeves, you would have thought would have been the stretch there to score 15.
Another guy
Russell,
I wouldn't normally put money
Jakob
on.
Poeltl. I mean, damn, Fred VanVleet not coming through. What is Malik a big from Close Up Magic? Is he a big Fred VanVleet guy?
He wants that VV big time.
He was pushing that agenda, huh?
And he doesn't like that I don't want him.
Oh.
Because he says it doesn't make basketball sense. And I'm like, sometimes you don't want a guy on your team because you don't like him and you don't want to root for him. And you just don't want him there.
Yeah, that's true.
But I also don't think he's the fit for our squad that I want, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree with that. I don't want to pay him that much money.
No.
Yeah. I like the guards that we have good enough to not go after Fred VanVleet. No,
Agreed.
thank you.
Agreed. All right. This happened the other day on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Beate Wagner, mother of Moritz and Franz,
Mother of Dragons,
now follows Court Cousins on Instagram. It's not nothing. It's not. I don't know if she's doing it because she wants to just keep up with her boys.
Yeah. Well, that is exactly why she's
or
doing
she's
it.
just following us because we follow her.
Okay.
Either way,
She's just a generous follower.
I'll take it. Yeah. Well, no, she doesn't have.
Refollower.
If you take a look at her numbers, they're not huge.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're in some elite company at the moment. But yeah, the Wagner's mom,
Beate, welcome.
She's an active lady in her community over there doing some fun stuff. So
it's
check her
probably
out.
because Uwe and Gunter, that's their aunt as well, right?
That's a deep cut. But
Yeah.
back in the day, we did some German accents. Maybe she's gonna be upset with us. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I bet Uwe and Gunter told her about the show.
Okay, it's possible.
Yeah, and that's why.
Yeah, you have to dig deep to figure out what he's talking about. But if you like to laugh,
The
it's
real
worth a
second
look.
cousins out there, the OG second cousins know about Uwe and Gunter.
All right, if you really want to laugh, let's talk about this Paulo Banchero situation real quick before we get to the other thing that'll be funny.
Yeah.
Look,
So
this is a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to read it all.
can I do this one?
Go ahead.
So
Read
this
us.
is because I took this shot here. This is the Lando reposting an article from Sam Vecini in the Atlantic, who's saying Paulo Banchero's grip on the NBA Rookie of the Year award is looser than ever. And the Lando points out, justifyingly so, what? You mean to tell me Paulo has been better than any rookie in his class all year, 70 games into the season, and you think a rookie who has been nearly as good but not as good the last 20 games may surpass Paulo for Rookie of the Year, huh? What are we doing here? Paulo on the season 26-3, Jalen on the season 13-4-3, Paul the last 20 games 19-7-6, Jalen the last 20 games 17-15-5-4. So the best point here is how other teams are actually planning for Paulo Banchero. This is a quote from Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
Right.
It's, quote, "It's going to take multiple guys to contain him. He's a phenomenal player. He was the focal point of our discussion earlier today." So his point is Paulo Banchero is consistently dealing with double teams and being the focal point of other teams'
Other
defenses.
teams are just trying to figure out which Jalen Williams is which Jalen Williams still. So, like, that's part of why he's getting away with this, but it won't last forever.
Yeah, I mean, this is no slight to Jalen Williams because I like his game, man. I was watching, with this conversation coming up, I'm like, let me look into this guy a little bit, watch some video of his game, listen to some more podcasts.
I was going to say, Locked On OKC.
Yeah, well, I do listen to them from time to time. I really like the team that they have there in Oklahoma City, especially with the emergence here of Jalen Williams being a potential piece of that with Josh Giddey and Shea, and then you got to figure Chet is going to come back at some point.
It's all well and good, but the point is that I think OKC is just butthurt that they thought they were going to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation at the beginning of the year with Chet Holmgren.
Yes.
And since they missed out on that, they're like, let's push this other guy. Because, look, I mean, I know he's missed some games down the stretch here, but Benedict Mathurin should be number 2.
Right.
So I get this kid's had a little decent stretch of games, but Paulo on a bad day still finds a way to get 19 or 20 points, which is still more than what he's getting. Yeah. So, let's not overreact to a small stretch of games and reward the man for when he had a terrible month in which he made 1 3-pointer.
He still
won the Rookie of the Month in the Eastern Conference. But regardless, it's about a body of work, and overall, they're just trying to get something stirred up here. This is somebody who just wants to try to make this a story, or at least they're probably trying to get Jalen Williams some pub because he's probably not getting a ton.
No,
which is why, the first time I heard about this, I'm like, what? I thought it was a joke, and then I was like, oh, is he actually doing well? How is this?
No,
so it kind of worked to bump him up a little. But, enjoy your second or third place, bud. You're not taking the Rookie of the Year here. There's
absolutely
12 games left.
If you had any doubt, too, you could go over and check out what Vegas says, and they tend to have a nose for these types of things.
Right.
Paulo's at minus 7,000 odds, and Jalen Williams at plus 6,000, tied with Benedict Mathurin and Walker Kessler. So those guys are all in the same sphere right now, and Paolo Banchero's in a galaxy of his own.
I have 3 of those 4 guys on my fantasy team, and I'm still not winning.
That's a pretty good squad. It sounds like we're in the playoffs now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with mine.
You're losing.
Yeah.
I'm also losing.
My guys I got injured, man. I got 2 injured, unfortunately.
But Jeff Weltgod likes to shine his little take on this by showing this gentleman here who looks like he may be looking for a ride or home.
Looks like, is that
maybe a meal.
Orlando?
Not sure. It's definitely not Orlando. Those don't look like Orlando-based trees. But he says he's not even asking for money, just updating the public in case they didn't know. So this guy, he's not looking for a handout.
All right.
He just wants to let you know.
No, he's a
Paulo
information
Banchero is
spreader.
the rookie of the year. Stop playing.
Stop playing, please.
Everybody needs to stop playing.
Next subject, Peach.
All right, next subject, and I believe it is our final subject of the Succulent social media roundup.
It has been so juicy and delicious.
Is all about Mr. Penny Hardaway. And I got to tell you, I'm going to preface this. I never thought that I would say any bad words about Penny Hardaway on this particular program because I'm a huge Penny Hardaway fan.
Yeah, this is interesting.
But buckle up because you're about to hear about Penny Hardaway as a coach for Memphis in this first round game. And I understand he's had a really great record since he's been there because I think he's probably doing a really good job recruiting. Who wouldn't want to go play for Penny Hardaway in Memphis? Yeah. It seems like a pretty cool place to be. So I think that there's room for there to be growth going forward. But Penny Hardaway as a head coach was awful in this game. And it wasn't just the end of the game. It wasn't just one thing. I have the list of the things. So when one of his star players picks up his 4th foul early in the second half, early in the second half, like when he got 3 early in the second half, it was like, all right, go pull him out of there now.
Yeah.
He didn't. He stayed on the court. And he got the other foul. I believe there was like 16 minutes to go in the game still. There's a lot of time.
Yeah.
You get 5 fouls in college for everyone that doesn't know. So 4 is like a death sentence almost. So with 4, you're like, all right, we got to sit him now.
Yeah.
Well, he played a little bit longer, and then finally he pulled him out. And it was like, all right, cool. We're not going to see this guy until like the last 5 minutes of the game. He's one of their bigger inside players. Yeah. They're going to need him down the road. Okay. So then down the stretch, one of their other players that's stepping up, he's playing well. He falls. He lands on a player's foot and like really turns his ankle. He goes down. He's like writhing in pain. Like the play goes on and they eventually have to stop play because he's down there writhing.
Damn.
This is not just on Penny Hardaway. This is on the athletic staff of the Memphis Tigers. Where were you? This guy ended up kind of hopping up and limping his way over to the bench, and he's walking around. I never saw a trainer go up to him. When you go down like that, there should be people out there immediately on it or somebody underneath him and like helping him walk. This kid was trying to walk it off. And I mean, it looked bad, right? This kid got mad, right? He's angry. He starts fighting with players on his own team. Penny Hardaway does nothing. He doesn't try to split people up. He just is there stoic, almost like he can't believe what's all happening. And it's like, bro, you need to step in and tell your guys to separate, put this guy over here, put this guy over there. And by the way, why is the guy with the limp ankle fighting with another dude? And why is he standing up in the huddle right now and putting weight on his ankle? If something's wrong with it, please have somebody look at this man. And they don't. Okay. So then play continues on a little bit. And then this man with the hobbled ankle goes to the check-in desk to check into the game.
Okay.
With 4 minutes to go in the game, the man with a hurt ankle is now all of a sudden going to come back in?
I mean, was it really bad?
I mean, it looked bad, but then...
Was he walking without a limp at that point?
He was limping a little bit, but like... Didn't look like anyone had ever checked on him. I thought
you
just
would love
walked
that.
around.
You would love the Iron Man.
Yeah, I do love that Iron Man. And to be honest, that cat played well.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he played pretty well. But
so shout out to him.
I
but you
never
want more
saw
responsibility from the
Yeah, man.
the
Where
team
was the responsibility from the team to take a look at this guy to make sure? Like, where was this stuff? You didn't see it happening. You saw him sitting alone on the bench or walking around in a circle.
What happened to the guy with the 4 fouls? Did he get back in the game?
The guy with the 4 fouls ended up going back in the game. But he came back in early.
Like
he put him back in at 12 minutes to go, and luckily they trusted him. They just kind of trusted him to like not get in foul trouble.
Okay.
And luckily they needed him. So he was back, but he shouldn't have had to be playing with 4 fouls at that point, and he kind of hurt himself. Then late in the game, they missed a check-in off a timeout where they wanted to check in the guy with the hurt ankle, but they couldn't because they missed the check-in at the desk. And it's like, this is all stuff that's like, this is all basic stuff. Like, we're in the NCAA tournament now. You've had several years to get some of this basic stuff figured out. Your players should not be fighting and pushing each other on during timeouts.
Yeah.
And there should not be problems checking into the game. So I'm not really sure what was going on with that. But then after it all their timeout usage down the stretch was terrible too. They had no timeouts left after FAU hit the shot to go ahead. There's 2.5 seconds left, but does Memphis have a timeout? They do not.
Oh,
they do the throw in and throw from a half court thing, and it misses.
Yeah.
And then Penny Hardaway throws his bottle as if he had
dangerous,
which
and
is
stupid.
It's dumb.
Yeah,
It's stupid. I understand that you're mad, but a lot of this is on you, bro. You lost a game by like 1 or 2 points to.
It's kids too. Like, you got to be an example. I know. Like,
It wasn't even a good throw.
It
was a very limp-wristed throw. Obviously, he wasn't trying to hurt somebody. It was clearly a frustration throw, but and I'm not suggesting he get in any trouble for that, to be honest. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here for look at the body of work. If you only have I've seen him coach some other games from years past, but if this was the only game you'd ever watch Penny Hardaway coach, you'd be like, oh, the only reason this guy's coach is because he used to be a player, because he has no coaching sense. And I don't think that's necessarily true. But on this one, hey, the players definitely didn't play that well, and Florida Atlantic is a great team. Give them credit. But Penny Hardaway stunk as a coach in this game. It was bad. And it wasn't just him, his whole coaching staff, even the training staff. They failed this team, and it's sad.
That's disappointing because I root for Penny.
Me too. I had Memphis winning in the next round because I was like, you know who stinks? Purdue.
Yeah.
Because Purdue don't. Every time I fill out a bracket, I never move them far. So I had Memphis beating Purdue. But Fairleigh Dickinson took care of it at least.
Yeah, I mean, when Memphis played UConn won. And I was standing there with my Penny jersey trying to see if he would autograph something for me on the way out. I let a child get it in front of me, and he did sign the child, but he didn't sign mine, which I totally understand because I'm a grown man, and that's totally fine.
Okay.
But he was very disgruntled, not in a good mood. He seems to really be an emotional, fiery guy, which is probably why he was one of the reasons he was such a great player. But this couple summers ago, when we hired Jamal Mosley, there was talk of Penny Hardaway, and he even mentioned that he was flattered by the talk in the Orlando Magic community of potentially becoming the head coach of the Orlando Magic, but that he had business in Memphis.
Sure.
I'm liking the demeanor that I see from Coach Mosley right now after the limp-wristed Gatorade throw, even more so.
Yeah, I mean, even as a joke once on this show, I joked that in the future Penny Hardaway will be the coach of the Magic. So I mean, I understood that this was a possibility, but that was in a world where I thought he was growing as a college coach and getting better to the point where you'd want him.
Yeah,
and I think he's a great recruiter because he's had some great kids go in and out in the 5 years now he's been coach there.
Yeah,
and they put up a great record, but he needs to figure out how to manage his team a little bit better. And if it's not him that does it, then get an assistant coach to be that guy that pulls those guys apart.
Yeah.
It looked like it was all him with no train. I mean, look, trainers go after people in the pros in college when they go down or when there's an injury. I never saw a trainer anywhere near this kid, and they kept showing him because it was vital.
Yeah.
So I just don't get it. It confused me. And that's the end of a succulent social media roundup.
Ooh, it was so succulent and salacious salacious. Yeah, that's a word.
Yep.
Well, we're going to have a word right now with one of our patrons coming in for our new segment, 5 with the Fam. All right. And this one is where we invite second cousins who are a part of the Patreon community to come on the show and ask us a question, and we ask them one question. So our first one is with Dylan Holden. Thanks so much for joining us, Dylan. We hope you like it. So we are here right now with second cousin Dylan. Thanks so much for taking the time, homie. Before we get into the 5 with the Fam, this new segment we have, you're a guest on the show, Dylan. We care how you're doing. So how you feeling today for the Chuma Are You Okay check-in, sir?
Got to check in.
I am absolutely feeling relieved, guys. Before I jumped on here tonight, I thought I was going to be locked out of my cell phone forever. I actually had to get a new one today because my old iPhone believe it was a 7, died on me. I couldn't get it
Ooh.
to charge. So I'm feeling relieved at this point and glad to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
So Dylan, 5 with a fam. The way this is going to work is we're going to ask you a question and then you'll ask us one. We'll chop it up with you. And the idea is that it'll be around 5 minutes with the family, second cousins, talking about Orlando Magic and all things court cousins. So, Peach, you have the first question. You ready, Dylan?
Yes, sir.
All right, Dylan, I know you're a big Suggs guy, so I think I know what answer you're going to have here, but I think this is a question that the Magic fan community needs to consider at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Suggs has been on a huge tear lately. He's playing really well. You can tell that things are slowing down for him on the court, and he's looking good. I want him to start. I want him to take those Gary Harris minutes and just let him have the more minutes. What say you? Do you think Jalen Suggs has earned starting minutes at least for the rest of the season here?
I do at this point, especially with the results yesterday. I'm pretty sure that was our last nail in the coffin for the play-in. So starting Jalen to me going forward is the way to go. And I would expect him, especially if he has a healthy offseason, to start next year, no questions asked. So, yes, I agree with that. He should be starting.
What's your feeling, I guess, if Jalen's moving on the rest of the guard rotation?
So the thing is, I think part of it, that's a two-part answer. Part of it is going to depend on the draft where we fall.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if we get 2 or 3, depending on what you believe, Scoot Henderson is either going to go 2 or possibly sliding to 3. And I don't think I don't see the Magic passing on him if they get a chance to draft him.
Probably
the second answer to that question is really on Gary Harris. If Gary Harris is willing to take a team-friendly deal and also possibly a reduced role, then, more power to him. I'd love to have him on the team. But he's going to have to take that role, I think. I don't think he's going to push Suggs out of the way. One, because we have too much invested in Suggs, where he was drafted, and 2, he's just flat out younger, and his defense is undeniable. I mean, he literally has an elite skill at, 21? That doesn't happen often in the league, and a lot of times I get into it with people on Twitter about that. I'm like, Jalen's not going anywhere.
The core of my question is really like, for the rest of this season, I think you start Suggs and see what he's got. Because, all right, Suggs and Gary are comparable, but Suggs lately has been scoring a little bit more, and we need some more pop. So just swap them. Because in 2 or 3 years, when we're trying to get at that championship level, Gary Harris won't be part of this team. I don't think.
Sadly, yeah.
I don't think. Because we're going to draft guards and wings that are going to replace him. And quite frankly, we're going to draft somebody that could replace Suggs. So let him play his way into staying as the starter or staying a key cog of this team. I think he can do it. This is the time to prove it.
Dylan, sir, thank you for riffing on that one with us. You have your question now, sir, for 5 with the fam. Damn, say that 5 times.
So my question to you, gentlemen, is being from New Jersey, how did you guys become Magic fans? Because I know for myself, I'm from Maryland, so I get asked the question all the time.
I lived in Jersey for a couple of years, but I'm from Connecticut. We're recording this from beautiful Bridgeport, Connecticut on Long Island Sound, coming at you on Court Cousins 98.9. No, we're in Connecticut on the Long Island Sound, but Peace, you grew up in UVM. If you could see right now, he's got the UVM Catamounts jersey behind him there.
Yeah, I grew up in Vermont, which is even further away, but our family originates from Vermont, and they did the same thing a lot of northern people do, which is move south for the winter. Got to the point where they're down there all the time.
Yeah.
But they lived in Winter Park, and so we used to go visit at least every other year, if not every year.
Mm-hmm.
And went down to games in the first season, 89-90. I saw 2 or 3. Yeah, you weren't alive, probably?
No, I was still.
I
was 2.
Okay.
I was 2.
Just barely joined us. And so, I went to some games that first season. Met Terry Catledge at a drive-through bank. He waved us over, shook my hand, signed our hat, and it just sort of was like, all right, I'm putting my Celtics corduroy hat away, and I'm gonna go. Before we went to one of the games, they let the kids on the court. I got to make a layup.
You're 10, right?
Yeah, I was 10.
I mean,
so I was
that's when
this
fandom is made.
This is amazing. This is this is formidable years, and I had an attachment now to this team, and it kind of just grew and grew and grew. But I love being on board before the Shaq and Penny era because I feel like that's when a lot of people got into the team and jumped in, and rightfully so.
What the hell, dude?
And
I
rightfully
came on in that era.
Okay, but you
Are you
were
throwing
also,
slander my way?
I'm not throwing any slander.
Okay.
Obviously, that's what put us on the map and put it in a lot of people to knowing who we were.
I was
But
just a few years
I was
behind
there
you.
in the Jeff Turner and the Greg Kite and the Mark Akers and like
The short era.
oh, there were some bad times there, but I just
Look at you going
love the
hipster,
unis
Brooklyn
and-
hipster. I was into the band before the band was cool.
yeah.
It's very much a family affair for us. I was there not long after Peach. His father and our other uncle and grandfather would take us to games. But it's kind of a family affair for you too, Dylan. You're in Maryland, so how do you come by your fandom of the Orlando Magic?
So my fandom started from my grandfather, who actually lived in Florida. He used to send me up tapes of Penny and Shaq, like hours of
Amazing.
tapes, and I would just wait at the mailbox for them to come, and I would just sit there for hours and just watch. It'd be like 3 or 4 games on one tape. It was like Sports Center
awesome.
before Sports Center was really popular, and then it just having a whole game was just unreal. I mean, hours.
Your grandfather was the OG Sports Center, man. He was the NBA.
Yeah.
He was the original NBA TV. Probably
I
better
mean,
than NBA TV today, too.
Just illegally recording games and sending them to people.
It was solidified with you also in childhood and with family. And it's great to have you on as a part of the family, the second cousin family. Dylan, thanks so much for always supporting us, man. You've been there for a while, an OG, and we really appreciate everything from you, man.
Keep
Thanks so
fighting in the trenches on Twitter, man. I got your back.
Yeah. One more time for our boy Dylan. Thanks so much for coming through, man. Much appreciated.
Thanks, fellas.
We'll talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
man.
Peace.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Dylan, for being our first guest on 5 with a Fam. Remember, everybody, you can join us too. If you join us on Patreon, you could be on a future episode of this fine podcast.
Got good things cooking over there at the Patreon, Peach. The Discord's up and running. We're doing more giveaways, the hangouts. If you want to be closer to the show
Yeah.
and help us design the show, because we ask for the input a lot, and it's very helpful too.
It is, yeah.
Head on over there. It's good
We'll
stuff.
talk about that a little bit later, but you got the grill. It's all warm and it's tiered, and there's different meats on different levels. So
Oh,
get in on it.
I like the barbecue reference. Cool.
Yeah, we're doing a whole succulent vibe today. So just keep it going. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about stuff that I don't think is succulent. It's stuff that's very dry. It is the possibilities of players that could come, but we're going to give it a little spin
Yeah.
where we kind of talk about players we think would be a good fit for the Magic. We're kind of assuming that we're going to have 2 top 10 picks at this point.
Something like that.
That
Maybe
would
8 and 12.
Yeah, that would be like our worst case scenario, but still
Yeah.
some top players.
Yeah.
Who we think would be a good fits for our team. Obviously, there's everybody knows about Wembanyama, and everyone's heard about Scoot Henderson at this point.
Yep.
We're going to try to dig a little bit more to that midsection where we're going to be drafting and select some players we think would be a good fit for the team. So
Okay. That's the first time I heard the directions, but I can make
no,
that happen.
we talked about this
No,
because you said you were excited to have this
I
conversation.
am
with me.
very excited to have this conversation with you, but I didn't know that we were doing the Orlando Magic slant. I thought you were just going to do like a straight mock when you told me. So you did take it through that lens. I'm excited. I'm even
I
more
wasn't-
excited.
I
now.
wasn't going to take it through that straight mock. I don't like to mock before I know who's drafting where.
Yeah,
That bothers me.
for sure.
It's too hard.
All right, so we'll mention some of the top guys, like you said, but with our Orlando Magic blue-colored glasses, blue-tinted glasses.
Mhm.
All right, how are we going to start, Peach?
You
Are we-
start because you seem like you have a plethora of notes.
Yeah,
So
well,
there must be one note you like better than the other.
you know, this is my first go around at this, everyone, and maybe you're like me and you're just starting to get into college hoops out there, or maybe you're like our boy Rafael Perez, who's been digging in this for months, he says, and already had rock solid takes when we were down there visiting Orlando about a month ago now. But I just started digging into the names that were in the top 15, looking at some highlight tapes, reading some of the information available in terms of scorecards and what these guys do well and what their areas of growth are. So that's kind of the lens where I'm taking this. Overall, just the 50,000 foot view right now from this piece, there are some strong players in the top 10 that are all in an area where I think we've got some really good players. There's a lot of guys in here that are like 6'8", 6'9", a lot of wing players. And I love Franz and Paulo. So it's a little bit odd for me as right now as a Magic fan to look at this and be like, damn, apparently some of the most talented guys are the places on our roster where I think we have the most talented guys. So it's an interesting quagmire of sorts approaching this draft, and depending on where we fall, because I could see us, another guard to introduce into this, guard competition. I think we need to see that, and I would like a big, but the number one center, Wembanyama, he's going to go off the board one, whoever's there.
Yep.
Maybe it's us. Let's go.
There aren't a lot of bigs in that.
There are right after
area.
that, right? So we'd be better trading back if we wanted to get a backup center in this draft. But I don't know what Weltman is thinking. He's trying to get 2 more hyper talented guys with some upside. I think there's some of those guys here, but there's also some that could, kind of whiff out. I'm looking at some of these guards that I've been digging into. I know this was someone that Raph liked a lot when we were down there. Keontae George, who's the shooting guard out of Baylor, 6'4". He's averaging 15, 4, and 3, but 38% from the field, 34% from 3, but on 7 attempts. So what you see there is a guy that's not afraid to shoot. And right now I feel like, man, we've got some guys that are afraid to shoot on our team from beyond the arc. We just don't have the volume that other teams do, and that gets us into trouble. And Keontae George can also make some shots. Like I saw numerous games where they were going to him late in games. He's got something off the dribble, but I think he'd be a really good 2 guard for us.
Yeah, that's nice. I agree. I like Keontae George from what I've seen. I've watched Baylor play a couple games. I think what's nice about him is that he's projected right now to be in that like 9, 10-ish range.
Yeah,
so that's going to be something that we can maybe even pick up with
there.
the second pick, perhaps.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a player I could see being
He's on the radar.
in Orlando for sure. He's high on my radar.
Yeah.
Because depending on what we do with the first pick, if he's there as the second pick, I'm going to be ecstatic because I think he's a great player and in a good way to go. Another player that people talk about that's really high in the draft right now is Brandon Miller.
Oh yeah.
Obviously everybody loves him. They're talking about him actually being number 2 over Scoot at this point.
I think he should be.
Which I think it's one of those things where he's getting a chance to play on national TV right now and people are getting to see him. And I always think you get a bump from the tournament.
A little bump. Yeah, man.
Right? Like as much as Zach Edey is now going to get a bump down from losing the first round.
Valley.
But if you go on a nice run here, you can get a nice bump up too. So I think before it's all said and done, he could jump out of our possibility unless we, happen to land one of those top 3 picks.
That's where, again, he's listed as a small forward. He's a forward, 6'9", 200 pounds, averaging 19, 8, and 2. He crashes the boards, which I knew that you would love. I saw him going for multiple offensive rebounds off his own shots.
Love it.
I was like, Peter's going to love this.
Yes.
40% from 3 on 7.5 attempts. So a much more prolific shooter than Keontae, who we were just talking about. But this guy has size on top of that. I mean, he reminds me, honestly, of a little bit of Jabari Smith Jr. last year in terms of the height and the high point of his release and how dynamic a shooter he can be. But he has way more off the dribble and more athleticism, I think, than Jabari Smith Jr. I think he's a much better prospect. But again,
I would agree.
This is a position that we've got Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. If you get number two or second or third pick and Brandon Miller falls to you, you take that. You take him immediately.
Unlike Penny Hardaway, I'm going to use a timeout in an appropriate moment here to tell you to just stop looking at the positions by these players and think about what they can do.
Yeah.
A guy at 6'8" who can shoot like that can be a shooting guard in this NBA that we have right now. I get that,
he guarded too. I don't watch enough film of him yet to see.
I feel like when you have that kind of length, it's a little easier to guard a Donovan Mitchell who's a 6'3" or 6'4" because you have that advantage in the wingspan department. Yeah. So don't let that. Small forwards can be shooting guards. Point guards can usually be shooting guards. They can usually kind of move one or the other depending on how hard they hit the weight room or what they're slated to do. So I'm not that worried about the position for him. I don't think he's going to steal Paulo or Franz minutes if we had him on our team. I think he just slots in as the 2 guard. Markelle is our point guard. Wendell at the 5, and off we go. Like that's.
I don't know if it might work on offense, but I don't know if it will work on defense. We'll see. it would be tough in certain matchups. And then the elephant in the room is the off the court stuff with Brandon Miller too. I love immediately everything I see on the court in terms of highlights, but he's been involved in some pretty dumb, reckless shit lately.
True.
And as much as our team harps on bringing in high character guys, that wasn't a high character move from Brandon Miller. Whatever happened with that firearm, I'm not going to judge it. I don't really know.
Well, he did.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like a little bit like, damn, homie, really, like,
Yeah.
really
situations.
It just seems like a shitty from front to back. You are a tremendous young man. But on the flip side, this can be. We talked about Markelle Fultz before. A very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
This can be a rock bottom moment for him.
Right.
So.
This is a
Depending on
much
how
better rock bottom moment than getting an injury or being on live Instagram with a gun in a club. I mean,
no, I wouldn't say that. Didn't someone use the firearm in his car to engage in a shooting?
he didn't.
Yeah, right. But that's still it's almost
It
like
was his,
accessory.
but
It's like
like-
accessory to a crime almost.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody took it from him. But
Right. I don't know the
regardless.
specifics, so I really don't want to comment on it. But I
Sure.
don't know if it's better than waving a gun in a club on Instagram Live. I think
it shows a
equally
little
stupid. But
It's there's definitely a lack of responsibility in where you're keeping this thing.
yeah.
But I think being dumb enough to just flaunt it when you're on a road trip, which means you obviously brought it with you on a plane somehow, is dumber than this move. But
These are young kids, so hopefully these can be moments that they rebound from. But how they react will determine their future. So I don't know. It'll
luckily,
be
Brandon
interesting.
Miller follows his own shots, so we know he rebounds well.
That is true. And I think that even with all that swirling, I don't know. We'll see if Jeff and John would take the chance on the kid. What do you think about Scoot? Or you want to?
Scoot?
Yeah, can we talk about Scoot a little bit? Because
I'd rather scoot by, but go ahead.
he was for a long time talked about as the surefire number 2, and
Sure.
Brandon Miller has now kind of surpassed that and is in number 2 in a lot of people, depending on the team that drafting too.
I've seen.
What do you think about Scoot?
Personally, I don't think we're gonna get Scoot, and I'm fine with that. I've seen him play a few games, and he's never jumped out to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've obviously seen the highlights, where, by the way, highlight packages always have
Highlights.
the highlights. so it's hard to assess that. I like to see a game to see like how people jump off the page to me, and he didn't jump off the page either game I saw, but I've seen games, where he's had incredible stat lines, and I've heard multiple things. So maybe I just happen to catch him on a couple of off days. I don't know, but I just don't see us being in position to draft him like a top 3 pick and us going, he's the guy, but somebody else would want him. So if we had that number 2 pick and somebody else really wants him, I could see us spinning a deal.
Yeah.
And that, to be honest, is one of the main reasons I don't like to think about us getting, winning the lottery again or anything like that. But if we land a top 3 pick, I want us thinking trade.
Interesting.
Because I think we can trade back to like 4, 5, or 6 and still have 2 top 10 picks, just like we have now, and get more capital. So I think there's a possibility there.
So you would pass up on Brandon Miller to maybe trade back and get one of these guards that we've been talking about, either
I think you could still get Brandon Miller if we had number 2. Somebody wants
trade back
Scoot.
to 3 or something.
Trade back to 3 and still get him.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a way to get. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned the Thompson twins, and I know we're about to.
Yeah.
But I like both their games too.
Yeah.
So
They're
there's
intriguing.
a lot of good players in the top 5 or 6 of this draft that make me realize that, okay, I could maybe trade back a little bit and get more for the future and just keep this whole train rolling, right?
Yeah. It'll be interesting how many. I think it would only really work if you're in the 2-3 situation, because
Probably.
most people have it being a pretty big drop off from Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller in that second tier, just below Victor Wembanyama, who's in his own tier, and then you have this third tier of the rest of these guys.
With the Thompson twins?
The Thompson twins are here.
Fair.
I've got Nick Smith Jr.
I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't know if I believe it to be true, though. That's my thing.
Hey, it's always wrong. It's almost always wrong.
Yeah.
You know, there's always guys
never
that
really tell who's
come
gonna
out of
break out.
nowhere. I mean, Jalen Williams. We were just talking about him for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yep.
Like where did he go? He didn't go. Was he in the top 10? I don't.
Maybe. He might have been.
He's surprising people, right?
I
So
think he might
there's
have been
always
in the
those
early
guys.
teens, 12, 13, something like that. And yeah, Benedict Mathurin shocked some people as well. He had a great season.
He was the 12th pick, Jalen Williams.
12. Okay, that's what I
So
thought,
there's always guys that surprise and mess up everyone's tiers. But let's talk about the Thompson twins. They're more someone I think that has the quickness to guard a two. They're 6'7", 6'6", respectively. Pretty much facsimiles of each other, being twins and all. 16 point. This is for Amen. 16 points, 6.5 boards, 6 assists, 57% from the floor, 23% from three. Not a great 3-point shot maker right now, but he can get his own shot. He's more of the shot creator of the two twins, it seems. Shooting over smaller guards in that mid-range, and he seems like a better passer of the two. But, you know, to say that Asar is therefore the much better shooter.
Oh,
he's
it's
shooting,
Asar?
How do you think it's pronounced?
Azur?
No, I think it's Asar.
Okay.
And the highlights I was
I haven't heard
listening
it.
to.
I haven't heard it said.
He's shooting 30% from three, you know, so I guess I like Amen a little bit more because he has more skill on the dribble.
Well, we know
And it's not
J.I.
like-
is praying for him to join the team.
So
He laughs like he didn't expect a biblical
he can
reference.
so he can yell amen from the sideline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel too much about the Thompson twins.
Yeah, it's tough because you see them play and they're playing in some, I don't know what league, I don't
Overtime
know what this
elite.
league is they're
Yeah,
playing in. I
it's
don't
like-
understand the league.
Seems
but
like really.
it's like when I
AAU
watch
league.
Victor Wembanyama dunking on French guys and I'm just like, yeah, but
This is like the fifth
Come
or
on.
sixth best league in the world. Like,
Right.
what does this mean? Yeah,
but
it's tough.
they do look good and they have been playing, you know, I think Steele's, you know, was it Iron Sharpens Iron or whatever? You
Yeah.
know, it's like if these two guys are going toe to toe their entire life,
right?
that's good because
Yeah.
they're both real good. So I like both of these guys. I'd be glad to have either one on the squad from what I've seen. And I think there's a very good chance we can get one.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like they're going to be there at 4, 5, 6, which is a very likely place for us to be drafting. So get your Thompson Magic jerseys now and then just figure out
Put the number on later.
Put the number on later. You can even put a Thompson if you want, and then we'll just figure out which one it is. I think there's a possibility we could get them both.
We like drafting. We like having brothers on the squad.
Yeah, let's brother it up. Let's go. Like just have them both on there. And
Get
just
Rolo back and then Brooke. who's
change
been-
that whole backcourt, and then worry about filling your big man hole through free agency.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, everything I've heard about these guys through people that have interacted with them speak very highly of the type of young men that they are. They seem to have really good head on their shoulders. So that rings like high character guy that Weltman and Hammond like. I think that really,
You know
that's
who else
points for
loves
them.
high character guys? Disney, and they're a sponsor. So
Bring them on in.
bring that character. Let's do
Amen,
it.
amen, amen. I guess, what do I got here? I have a couple more guards and then want to talk about the forwards. Is that okay?
I mean, you do whatever you feel like. You talk about anybody you feel like we need to talk about.
Well, another guy that's high on people's boards is Nick Smith Jr. He's from Arkansas, right?
Yep.
He also plays with Anthony Black. There are two guards on that team that are touted to be within the top 10 to 15.
Yeah, Arkansas is playing Kansas today.
I want to watch that game.
Want to watch that game badly, also because of Grady Dick, who I'm assuming we're going to get to later, so I won't go off on
I'm going
that
to
now.
talk them. No, bring up both of them.
But
Let's
with,
talk about
with
both of them.
all three of those guys in this game, this is a must-watch for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be here for it, but I have it recording. Like, I'm going to go back and watch this one because I
Can we
need
go
to
watch
know.
it when you get off work? Can we watch it when you get off work together?
Sure.
Okay.
He's going to be asleep.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I think there's possibility of one of those guys being on our squad, but I haven't liked as much of what I've seen from them as I've seen from like Keontae George or the Thompson twins. But I understand they're going to be around in that second pick we make. That's around where these guys are slated to be, somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. Same thing with Grady Dick is slated to be somewhere like right in the
Let's talk
end
about
of the
dick.
top 10. Or
You liking Dick Peach? I mean, the penis puns on this show would be
I
outrageous.
can't even I can't.
Yeah.
It's too, you know,
Yeah. We're too
It's too much.
We're too insecure. We can't
It's
talk
too
about
much, man.
all this dick talk. We just wouldn't be able to handle it. I don't think.
know. I've already commented on some people's things on Twitter because I think it's funny whenever they like mention him and they'll like write they write like a basic sentence you'd write about any human. But because they refer to him as Dick, it's hilarious. And no one laughs. And I'm just like, how is everybody
so mature
being mature about this? You could have called him Grady, but no, you went with Dick. You knew what you were doing. So let me laugh at it and let me enjoy it. And let's just go. First, I can't believe he doesn't change his surname to Richard. That's really on his family. I mean, at some point they should have just been like, you know what, let's change to Richard or Richards. Let's get away from this whole Dick thing. But they can't do it.
How long has that been one of the preferred words for the male genitalia? I mean, is it going to be around for a while? You think that the Dick family is trying to just outlast?
Dick is not going anywhere. I got news for you, Dicks. It is not going to leave anytime soon.
Get the paperwork ready.
Should think about it.
I mean, he's touted as the best shooter in the draft. I think what I saw from Brandon Miller, I liked a little bit better. But
yeah, agreed.
At the guard position, this is kind of the player that fits best with what the Orlando Magic need.
He kind of reminds me of a guy that's just going to be a shooter out there. I'm trying to think of some quick comparisons from what I've seen off the top of my head.
There's another white
It's
boy
all going to be shooting
shoot.
white guys like JJ Redick and things of that nature. So, hey, Red Dick. Interesting.
Hey,
Are they related? But yeah, and I don't tend to like those guys on a team, but they do have a ton of value, and every team seems to have one, right? Like just a white boy who can come in and shoot the lights out. And honestly, we need shooting.
Yeah,
so who am I to turn that down?
He's a good
Who
defender.
am I to turn down Dick? That was just for you.
Oh, man.
Dick puns all summer long on Court Cousins.
We can't handle this, dude. Weltman, Hammond, please pass on this guy.
I know. I kind of want to just pass on him just for that. Like, I'd rather just let this dick be someone else's problem.
Oh, man. I feel like my girl has felt that in the last few days at some points. All right. But I think he's the best. He's probably one of the best fits. Yeah. He plays better defense than people give him credit for.
Yeah,
he's bouncy. He's more athletic. He gets kind of pigeonholed in the white boy shooter thing, but he's a really good defender and doesn't turn the ball over. That's one of his very plus assists. He's a smart player, a good shooter. That's kind of what we need. So
yeah, if like you said, worst case scenario, we ended up drafting like 7 or 8 and 12 or something like that. Grady
12.
Dick's probably going to be there.
Yeah,
for one be those picks. I'd like him to be our second pick, versus our first.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Aside from the name thing, which you have to overlook when you're looking at this, if you got to be serious for a second, he is a good fit. So
I'm excited for that game later today. Some other guys that I have a tough time getting behind. It's like Jarris Walker, Cam Whitmore.
You shouldn't have trouble getting behind him. You should for us, because I don't think that's necessarily.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, they're
it's an
dynamic
undersized
player.
power forward,
right? It's giving me. Yeah. I mean, Jarris Walker. I don't know if it's because he has the same hairstyle, just giving me Beef Stew. Isaiah Stewart. He wears his hair in like a very similar way that Beef Stew did for a while.
But much shorter.
No. Beef Stew's 6'7", 6'8".
Oh, I thought Beef Stew was like 6'10".
He plays like that, right? But he's not, and that's why they're very similar.
Well, Charles
players.
Barkley was 6'6" in his prime, and he was the round mound of rebounds. So,
exactly.
I mean, you can get it done if you use your size.
But we got Moritz Wagner. We got some guys where even Wendell is undersized at times in terms of a shot blocker. Right? Mm-hmm. He uses his body well, the enforcer. But I don't know if we want to duplicate that skill. But yeah, man, he's a big body, force of nature type of guy. He will be an undersized big, but a plus defender. He has shown the ability to step out and knock down the three, even though he's shooting 34% on only 2 of 2.7 attempts. But he's a monster. I did watch a Houston game the other day.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's and
nice. he helped put it away for sure.
We haven't talked about this. There's 2 more guys we haven't talked about that I feel like fall in the top 12 in most of the mock drafts that I see. So I'll just throw their names out. One is Cam Whitmore from Villanova.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him play a ton, but 6'7", 232. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen him enough to like really have a good evaluation at this point. That will be something I look into as we go forward. So I don't want to completely ignore him.
I'm only on highlights, but the vibe I got, because he has really good handle for a guy his size. Like 6'7" isn't huge, but he's a thick boy. Like he's muscular. Like he's gonna move people around. And
I love that.
Yeah, definitely. And he's not shy of contact, and he has really nice handle, which gave me like watered down Anthony Edwards feeling vibes. Like that type of game can kind of take you off the dribble, and his shot is decent enough, 35% from 3 on 4 attempts a game. So it's a part of his game that people have to look out for and defend against. But yeah, we'll see like how versatile and valuable a player he can be in the league. He's definitely dynamic, though. It would be interesting to plug him in on a squad.
The last person I had on my list that we have not mentioned yet.
Yeah.
All the Florida people know him. It's Taylor Hendricks from UCF.
Okay.
6'9", 210. I don't necessarily know as though he's a fit for our squad, but I think he's a good player. And at one point, I think he was under the radar because he's with UCF and they're in the NIT. But he is a good player. I did watch them play against Florida the other day, and he played a great game. I think he's going to be a good player in the league. I'm just not so sure he's going to end up on our squad just because of like a fit. Like he's not the big we're looking for, and he's not the guard we're looking for. So I feel like he's going to just fall away from it. But a lot of Orlando Magic fans are definitely going to be like, oh, is this guy? He's here. Come on. Cheerleaders that cheered him on are our cheerleaders. Come on. Hey. And it's like, maybe. But nobody would hate it. I certainly wouldn't because I liked what I've seen. But I just I don't see that as the fit.
Yeah, I haven't looked into him yet, so I can't comment, but it sounds like how I kind of feel about guys like Jarris Walker, this guy, the Thompson twins to a certain effect. They just appear to be skilled wings, and I just feel like we have that. I'm really hoping to get another guard to insert.
Our team will need lots of wings to soar.
Yes, you're okay. Yes.
Let's. You're going to be a Thompson fan before it's all said and done because we're getting one. I'm buying a Thompson jersey.
Soar, amen, soar. All right, so
those are all the guys I feel like that are going to fall within our window.
Who are we missing?
I dug a little bit deeper. If you want to talk about big men, the top 5 centers of the draft. I haven't seen them all, but obviously we've seen Zach Edey with Purdue. He is just too slow, I think, to make it in the NBA. Yes. Somebody will probably take a waiver on him, but I just feel like he's too slow to really keep up with the game. If he can find a way to lose a little weight and speed up, maybe. Armando Bacot from North Carolina, I love.
Of course you do.
He's the all-time leading rebounder in North Carolina history, so that counts for something. He could be somebody you get late in a late round.
Sanogo playing for UConn.
Yep.
Beasting people right now.
Doing work. I mean, these are all guys that I think that could be like a late, but that could be a 2nd round pick.
It's Bacot is his name, and Sanogo. Sanogo. They're undersized too in terms of NBA. Like they're probably they give me Wendell Carter vibes.
I know, but there's the thing. Wendell plays the 5 for us. So sometimes guys at 6'10" or 6'11", like you said earlier, can use their beef and play a little bit bigger than their actual size.
For sure.
I'm not so sure if those guys can do it, but if you're taking a 2nd round shot on one of these guys to fill your big role, you're not really putting a lot into it. So it's worth the shot.
Stick with
I haven't seen Oscar, and I'm sure I'm unfamiliar with how to spell it from Connecticut, but I've heard, or from Kentucky, but I plan on watching him in the tournament. And that's where I'm going to really get a good assessment on who he is. Cause I've heard good things about him. I think Kentucky's going to make some noise, and he might be a guy that he might be a 1st rounder from what I've heard, late 1st. So there's a couple guys from Duke that people are talking about mid 1st round, but I don't
love any of the bigs really outside of Wembanyama in the.
That's why I think if we're going to fill the big hole, you've got to fill it with
free agency.
That's
interesting.
And if we're going to fill the guard hole, you can fill it with. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it yet, but at some point we might be able to make those puns. Go Kansas.
Who do we miss? Who are you having your eye on right now? Very early, obviously.
Yeah.
Very, very early mock draft and draft thinkings. Who do you like?
Did you declare for the NBA draft? Comment below. Let us know who you are. Send us your package. We'll take a look at it.
Send us your package. There's just too many dick puns. We just can't have this guy.
I don't
dude.
dick. Do not send me your package. I've already seen that. I don't need any more dick pics. He's out. All right, so I'll wrap the segment. So that's it. We did it, and now we're moving on to the next thing.
Oh, you want to tell them about the next thing, Peach?
All right, so we're talking about the Court Cousins Championship. As you saw in the last show, Kyle kicked a ball through a hoop and
Is that
won
the
the
riveting
title.
stuff that you were hoping for with the shootout, Peach?
No, it wasn't. But I do like that you sped it up because it felt like it took forever when we did it. So, yeah, you kicked a ball through the hoop.
Yeah.
You're the champion.
That's right.
But you also had the advantage, and that was your selection. So this was worked to your favor.
Yes.
So we put out bets for this last set, which are still ongoing.
Yes.
And give you a little bit of an update on them. The Cole line was set for points per game at 13.5 over this stretch of games. Right now, he's right at 13.5. So that's a spicy
Could be
meatball.
a push.
Yep, still 4 games left to go in this set, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The next one was Jalen's 3-point shooting percentage, which you posed to me and said you're setting the line at 37%. I took the under.
Yeah.
Right now he's at 34%. 35 if you give him the
He's
round
not
up.
playing
so he's
today.
in the mix.
Yeah, he's got a concussion. We'll see when he comes back. So if he gets hot in a couple games, it's within reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
I set the line for wins at an embarrassing 6. You took the under, and it's already over, so you've won this one. Congratulations.
Oh, okay, nice.
This one cannot be won. by
Oh,
me,
that's sad.
So there's
though.
already a
I
win.
don't like that win. Doesn't feel good.
No, you shouldn't feel good about it.
Yep.
And then the next one is Wendell Carter, the combined points and rebounds. You set the line at 25. I took the over right now. Wendell sitting at 28.3. He missed the first 3 games
Oh, okay.
and then
That
came
doesn't
back.
matter though.
Came back with a fire.
Okay,
But
good.
He's currently sitting at 28.3. So currently that one's going in my favor. So you have one, and
Yeah,
now
but we have one more.
we have one more to
We
have.
have one more, again, from our Patreons, our patrons over on the Patreon community. We ask you what we should have as that 5th line, that kind of tiebreaker line, as it were. And there was a great suggestion, I believe, from Anthony Unwin. Yes, Anthony Unwin.
He's all over the segment. He loves it.
He's tremendous. He talked about points per game being allowed because we're kind of letting shit get away right now. And it's an interesting mental gymnastics to play at this moment because for the season, we're at 114.9, pretty much 115 points allowed. But over the last 5, now I updated this a couple days ago, over the last 5, we've allowed 126.6 points per game. That doesn't include the Phoenix game, though. I'm setting the line at 119 for this last stretch against the
So
Clippers,
we gave
Lakers.
up 116 against the Suns, so that's pretty much right at the line here.
Yeah. Clippers, Lakers, Washington, Knicks, Brooklyn, Memphis. What say you, Peach? What are you thinking?
Man, I got to tell you, I'm going to take the under here. I don't love
Okay.
it, but I don't want to bet against our team, and I just can't imagine this can continue.
Okay.
Like, at some point, our defense has to step up. We're capable of doing better on defense than we have.
You're absolutely right.
And, I mean, I know some of the teams we're playing are fighting for playoffs, and some
Yeah.
of these teams can put up some gaudy numbers.
They could.
But I don't know. 113 still feels like a lot of points to me, and that's comfortably under this line.
Yes.
So I'm taking the under. I just feel
All right. That's good. I hope you're right. Because that's the only shot we have of getting a victory in this next set.
Indeed. And now, stick around because the large ending is here. But first,
Shout outs?
we're going to shout out the All-Stars and the Second Cousins on Patreon.
Annie up. Get that fool. Annie up. Kidnap that fool. Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him, get him, get him.
Is this your shout
That
out?
was my shout out.
Okay.
I never got to do it.
All right. Oh, I see. You were ready for it.
Shout out to Magic Player History, Wiffle, Andy, Dylan Holden. Thanks for coming on, homie. Drum, Rafael Perez, Breadhead, Al, Matthew Bell, Dan Young, Yachty, Connor, Gloria, and that's all.
All
And
right.
Damien.
Yeah, don't forget
Damien
your
as
dad
well.
now.
Sorry, Dad. But yeah, if you're enjoying the show, if you've got some laughs today from this hilarity and hijinks, maybe you watch the reactions, maybe you've popped into live streams and you enjoy what's going on here, we'd really appreciate the support over at the Patreon. We're building a really cool, tight community. So if you want to get close to the show, we'd love to have you and pick your brain. Or just, it's helpful to subscribe to the channel, click the like so more Magic fans see the content. And we appreciate everything. All you beautiful second cousins out there.
Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a cousin.
I love it.
It's time for the large ending. Do you hit the music now? Oh, that's where you keep that.
Yeah.
The NCAA tourney is underway. We talked about it a lot today, but I'm curious who you have in your Final Four.
I had to look this up. I guess Bama, I want to see Brandon Miller play. Duke, Houston, and let's go Huskies. UConn, baby. Rogers. There's the chatter about him going to the Jets. I don't know if it's completely confirmed, but he said it. It's happening. They winning anything in that Buffalo Bills division of yours there, Peach?
Maybe second place?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. It seems like a weird move. Don't know why he's doing it. But he really wants to follow in the steps of Brett Favre. So he has to go to the Jets. And then that means next year he'll be on the Vikings.
Right.
And then in a couple of years he'll steal money from his alma mater. And then after that he'll sue Pat McAfee for money. So he's really following in Brett Favre's footsteps. And he's just
That's going to be a
this.
crazy 180 with the McAfee show. That's gonna be pivotal
It's
stuff.
really going to turn things around.
Oh yeah, it's going to be
weird.
nice.
It's going to be weird.
It's going to make for a good documentary.
The World Baseball Classic is going on. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I was aware of that. Yeah, because one of my students was trying to watch the game in class the other day. Oh. Yeah. And,
It is weird to me how passionate some people get about that when I could give a rat's ass.
Well, also
about
because
baseball in March.
we're in the tri-state area, and what is it? Edwin Diaz, the closer for the Mets.
Oh,
that
the guy
right?
with the horns?
Yeah. So he is out for the season now because he was celebrating when Puerto Rico beat Dominican Republic. They were just jumping in a circle.
He hurt himself celebrating?
He fell, and then people stepped on his ankle, and so he's
Bro.
out for the season now.
Game
So the
don't even
Mets,
matter.
who have spent a bunch of money in the offseason, are now without their closer.
I'm going to say this first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to celebrate because a player has gotten hurt.
Yeah.
But couldn't happen to a nicer team. Screw you, Mets. Even though I know Cole Anthony's a big Mets fan.
Yeah. After this, Peach, I'm going to go downstairs and watch the reruns of the qualifying for the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix of Formula One. This is the second Grand Prix of the season. Who you got winning the Constructors' Cup this year? Mercedes, Red Bull, or Ferrari, Peach? He has no idea.
Red Bull?
Yeah.
It gives you wings.
Okay.
And the Magic have a lot of wings.
They're the favorite.
So I'm going with it. Can I talk you into this new check-in format?
Yeah.
The psychological check-in. What do you think?
I like it. There's probably more emotive pictures of Cole Anthony that we can
for
find.
sure.
He's got that dynamic, very outgoing personality. So let us know in the comments. I like it. Psychological.
Sorry,
check-in.
Chuma, you're out. The psychological check-in.
It's a little tough
That's
to
it.
say.
Well, we had a problem with Okiki and Okeke at first too, but we got over it. So let's do it.
The NCAA tourney is upon us. I've been enjoying watching the games. I know you've been enjoying it, even though your Catamounts went down. It made me think, Peach, what is your favorite postseason? Is it the tourney, or is there another that has your heart still?
Good question. Solid.
Thank you.
I'm going to say yes, and I know it's the season right now, so it does
feels-
seem that way.
yeah.
But I don't think there's any other playoff format that gets me from lukewarm on something
Yeah.
to all in as much as the tournament does.
Yeah.
I really flipped that switch in March and all of a sudden care about college basketball a shit ton. And I'm absorbing and drinking as much as I can, and everything else should go away. And like I said in one of our wrap-ups, I don't even know why the NBA is trying to play.
Yeah.
During the first few days of this tournament.
That's
They
fair.
should
It's
just
their
go.
product.
If I had season tickets
Yeah.
to the team and they were playing a game on like Friday night and it's the first round of the tournament, no way.
No way.
Like, I'm going to just stay home and watch the tournament. Like, last night I was at an AHL hockey game, and up in the few booths that were filled, the suites,
The sweets.
all had the tournaments on. just stay home and watch the tournament. Like, legit, it should almost be a national holiday. I know they've talked about that for Super Bowl or the day after Super Bowl, which I do enjoy, and that's cool. But, man, there's something about all these teams getting a shake at it that you've never heard of, from places you've never heard of, with team nicknames you've never heard of, that you have to Google to figure out where they're at. And they get to put their name on the map, and they get to be in there with all the big boys slugging it out for the championship. It is way cool because some of these guys, this is it for them.
Yeah.
And you can see that passion in every friggin' game of that tournament.
It's awesome.
It's there on their faces. And it is awesome. And it's hard to really compare that in sports. This one-shot thing where everyone gets a fair shake, it just doesn't happen.
That's why the NBA has been talking about some type of sudden death tournament in the middle of the season or some point, that because trying to capture this lightning in a bottle feeling of you lose and you go home.
For me, I love watching college basketball more than I love watching the NBA. I'm just going to say it. I think it's more exciting. I think the players have more invested in it. I think they care about not only the name that's on the front, but the other players on their team, their brotherhood, more than some teams are. Our team, Orlando Magic, kind of gives me that vibe of a college team sometimes, which is part of the reason I like them and can really get on board with what's going on with them. But you don't see that camaraderie a lot in the NBA with guys moving teams all the time and doing this and that. So college basketball is damn good, and I think the NBA should stay out of its way because that's its feeder system.
Yeah.
They're working together here.
Right.
So.
Well, let's go watch them right now, Peach. Let's get out of here.
All right.
Peace, everybody. Love you, second cousins.
Thanks for coming.